see them in the wild, they're underneath trees, which just looks natural. But if you're trying to go through your yard, the tree's going to take all the moisture. So she actually dug these little troughs and planted them within the cement trough so that the water, the roots go down and they're self-contained in moisture. Of course, it took a woman to figure that out. If it had been men, we'd still have trees. We would have done it. So we have an advantage there, but that helps. You don't want to plant underneath the tree. They're rewarding that. They really are. We encourage you to come see them in Longview in April.
Where is Longview located?
Do you know where the 17th Street Canal is? Okay, so if you're going down Metairie Road, you've got the cemeteries on your right. You go over a little bridge that goes over a canal, and you're in Metairie, you're in Jefferson Parish. Do you know where I am?
We came down from Baton Rouge. I'm from Missouri, so.
But
I could probably.
Okay, well.
This is the 17th Street Canal.
Right.
Yeah.
If you, where are you staying?
Oh, we just came down from
You take the exit off the I-10.
Yeah.
Metairie Road, City Park Avenue exit.
So if you go one way, you go to Metairie Road, and the other way, you go City Park.
Yeah, so you basically, depending on which direction you were coming from, you would just head towards Metairie, and then right before you go across the 17th Street Canal, across that little bridge, you make a left on Bayou Road, which runs along the side of the canal.
Called Bamboo Lane.
Yeah.
So if you cross the canal, you've missed. It's hard to see the road because it's very small. There's only about 8 houses or so back there, and they're all very wealthy properties, and that's deliberate, little tiny road that you can hardly see. And so, if you just stay getting ready to go, you see a little, the stripe on the road, gives you a little space to turn left, even if you can't see the road.
Yeah.
It's going to be there right before the canal. You see the bridge. You see you're coming up this little bridge, and so you take that left right before the bridge.
There's a sign there.
And then there's a sign. Yeah, once you go down Bamboo Lane, you go about halfway, and there's a little sign for Longview. It's an 8-acre estate.
Is it a private garden or a?
It was the home of Edith and Edgar Stern. They're both dead now, but they were very wealthy and they were very civically engaged, and they did a lot of philanthropy. And the mission statement is to encourage people to pursue
beauty and civic responsibility.
Beauty and civic responsibility in their lives. So they have all these gardens. Most of them are formal. The wild garden is a lot less formal and has about, let's say, 75–80% species native to both sides. And that's where we were in that area. And then there are other gardens. There's a bunch of other gardens. There's a discovery garden for kids and Spanish portico terrace and whatnot. And then there's the house itself, which is open. You can tour it. So right now it's run as a nonprofit.
In April, when the Iris is in bloom on Saturday, we're going to have a free day for people to come and see the irises, and we'll probably team up with the sculpture garden at City Park, where you'll be able to see the irises and come over to Longview and see irises within the wild garden. So it'll be a chance to see Longview, and it's going to be open to the public one day at no charge to come and see the irises. So it'll be in April. Just keep posted to the. We'll have it in the newspaper. We're going to be doing that this year. Give you a chance to see the wild garden and the irises. And then we'll have information on iris growth if anyone that wants it. There'll be some Iris Society people there.
You can always go online to the Iris Society of Louisiana or whatever it is. They've got a website. They have all that information.
So the red iris is really rare. I mean,
well, not that rare. The iris fulva, which is more sort of like a coppery color. I mean, they're getting rarer. All the irises are getting rarer. Just habitat destruction. I mean, we used to have irises. I've talked to people in their 60s who you still find irises along the ditches, coming down here into the lower Ninth Ward. And I've seen the iris fulva just growing in ditches, especially St. Bernard Plaquemines Parish. They seem to like roadside ditches, and obviously that's not their natural habitat, but has enough of meets enough of their requirements. They like some shade, so they'll grow, especially on ditches that run along wooded areas. You put the red ones have a wooded area on the other. But there's also the Iris Wilsonii, which grows very specifically just south of Abbeville, and that's it. And that has the brighter color red, and that is endangered partly because of the hammering they've taken over it in the last few years with the hurricanes, and partly just development. So they're trying right now to protect an area called the Steen Forest, which has those irises in it. The Steen molasses. Anybody familiar with that?
Cane syrup.
Yeah, it's cane syrup and molasses. It's that family, but unfortunately now we're like third generation and there's a million heirs, and so it's very complicated to get them all together and try to set some of that nice.
There was a real famous botanist, John K. Small, who came down here and just fell in love with irises, and he ran the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens, or New York Botanical Gardens, and he had this publication called Addisonian, and they were showing the rest of America the irises, and that's how the world America became enthralled with Louisiana iris. And he started seeing through development the irises would start to disappear. And I read his stuff, and he goes on and on each year. He would go on and on more about how it's disappearing. You don't realize what you're doing. And he was talking about irises. But if you listen to environmentalists today, it's like the coast is disappearing. He was one of the first people in Percy to start raising these issues in the early 1930s. And it's amazing, here we are 80-something years later, and we're talking about the whole coast, and sometimes plant people are the first people to notice that, but it was just interesting because when I was reading it, it was like, well, wow, now it's the coast, everybody's saying it. Of course, that was way back, when I read it was way before Hurricane George and then Katrina. So much has happened since then, but
Hurricane George brought in a huge amount of salt water.
1998.
So it's very damaging for the wetlands, although it's not so damaging for New Orleans physically, but did a huge amount of damage.
I don't know if people realize in 1917, they called it the hurricane of 1917 because they only named the years. We had a hurricane equivalent to Katrina that passed over the city. And we have category 3, category 4 on the Simpson scale according to how much damage to buildings. The 1915 hurricane damaged 95 or 97% of the buildings, which makes it a good category 4. But we had no flooding. The only places that flooded were the little communities, the little LaBranche community and Frenier where they were logging. These communities right on the lake. But New Orleans didn't flood because we had cut down the swamps to the north of us, Lakeview. We had all this protection, but yet it did more wind damage than Katrina did. And here we had the same storm hit Biloxi, yet we flooded because of all the damage we've done to our wetlands. So that's an interesting thing to look at. And this was, believe it or not, before Dr. Small in 1930 started talking about the irises disappearing. 13 years prior we had this famous hurricane. Yet if that hurricane came today, or I think it didn't come 5 years ago, we would not be sitting here because I don't think that would have flooded like we would have should Katrina have come here. They wouldn't have rebuilt the walls. And that would be a crying shame because we wouldn't be here. We all live in New Orleans for a certain reason. But yeah, so.
And I have one about canoeing. I don't have a canoe, but I have guests every now and then. I would love them to take them to the swamp. And I used to know a place a little north, maybe 30 minutes from New Orleans across I-10. It was really awesome, but if you know any rental places that you recommend for canoes and real pristine swamps.
Byron used to rent canoes, Byron Almquist. He runs outings now. I don't know if he rents canoes.
He does monthly full moon